Good morning and welcome to this special edition of Blabbing for Britain. And it's really to discuss the outcome of yesterday's vote, where 52% of the Great Britain population decided to leave the EU, and the implications of that, and what it actually is going to mean to all of us. And from my point, I'm going to own up here. And I voted, I think I should state it, I voted to remain. Unfortunately, not everybody in Wiltshire agreed with me, and certainly not everybody in the country. The only safest place to be to vote remain yesterday was Scotland, where 62% of the population voted to stay. Nurse Tony said this blab was for 10 a.m. We're live on air at the moment at 10 o'clock. Okay, now, your thoughts, gentlemen.
I can take my earphones off. So it's a hugely, for me anyway, a hugely disappointing result. And I think I'm in denial or shock or something of those emotions. I think there's so many things to talk and say about it, from the way the campaign was run, from the way that Farage has talked about a victory without a shot being fired.
Yeah,
the crassness. It's just sheer. So I'm personally disappointed, and I've seen tweets and Facebook posts from people saying, "Come on, Britain, now is the time to go forward." But I think it was the time to go forward anyway. Every day is the time to go forward, and we've just put such a handcuffs, hands behind the back for a couple of years at least.
Yeah.
But shock.
Yeah, shock. I think shock covers my situation at the moment as well. Peter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, as you know, I voted out.
Yeah.
I was on Radio 4 yesterday. I got an interview, and I said to them I was just disappointed that the both camps, the way they run their campaigns, were negative. If they got their figures right and projected their figures right, it would have been a much better campaign and just getting their whole message across. I'm not as elated as you thought I might be.
No, I don't expect you to be elated, Peter, because it's the unknown, isn't it?
It's a big challenge for us, which I'm sure will come through. But I'll tell you what it has done already. Mm-hmm. The French are looking to have a vote. The Danish are looking to have a vote. Obviously, there's talk of the SNP wanting a revote, and that's been quite controversial already. Looking at my Facebook pals pages, but what I'm saying to this: why did it happen? Why did they vote? What was the underlying current? Well, let me tell you, I was with two Polish people out for a meal last night. Very nice. Young couple who all they do is study, and when they stop studying, they study something else. And I said to them, "Why did you come to this country?" They said, "Well, one, Scotland give us free university place." Yeah, so they took that, both of them, free university places, and one got involved with the oil and things. And I says, "No, once you're up and running, why can't? If you was to go back to your country, people like you could get your economy running again. You know what they said? You've got to be joking. Half of their money is paid under the table. Why? Because they don't trust their own country." And that's what to Polish people. And that's why people, because what I keep thinking is, why do so many people want to come to our country? Why our country? Why is there people sitting in France waiting to come to our country? Personally, I was caught up in it with Brussels. They, my pest control business, and they, at a whim, just tried to take all our rodenticides off us, which would have caused a problem. So I've seen it from that point of view. I like to make our own decisions, not go to someone else and say, "No, we think you're wrong." So that's why I done it. I'm still a European.
Oh, yeah, but
Yeah.
now there's a good point brought up by Chris Brookbank, and he says it's feeling a bit strange, like English people are not who I thought they were, and I feel less English. I think that there is a real problem that during the course of the campaign, specifically in the last 2 weeks, it got very nasty. And in terms of foreign nationals living in the UK, even with British passports, becoming less settled, really. I mean, they were felt that, you know, do they belong here? And I think that's a bridge that's got to be repaired soon, because we have a great number of people in Great Britain who are foreign nationals, and they need to be reassured. And I'm not sure, I'm not talking about personalities here, but Nigel Farage is not the one to reassure them. And you've got sort of two halves of the Leave campaign. You've got Nigel Farage saying one thing, and the rest of the Leave campaign now being reconciliatory and saying, you know, we should all come together again, because decision made, accept it, we've got to move on, but let's bring the country back into one.
That's right. Have you any idea yourself, what do you think caused, and I've always said this, I went to my bed, I fell asleep at 2 o'clock, my partner came down and got me off the chair, because I was really, really interested in this. What do you think the silent majority, what do you think they voted for?
Stephen?
I think it was the fear of immigrants, the cost to the NHS, the perceived additional cost of providing services to all these additional people. I think that story was very well put across, and it was the Leave side's Project Fear, and it was very successful. I heard the argument back which said, have you ever had a bed denied you because of an immigrant? Have you ever had a job turned down? And lots of the silent majority will say, no, they haven't. But the story was played, the narrative was played to perfection.
It was. I mean, the Leave campaign pressed all the right buttons, didn't they? I mean, this 350 million a week, they knew that it was anyway, they pressed all the buttons. They knew exactly how to get through to people. And the things that people would remember, it was all punchlines. And the punchline said, we're better off out of Europe, out of the EU. Fraser, if you want to come on air and tell us what your question is for our illustrious leader, whoever it may be. Now, Mr. Cameron will, he has resigned, but won't leave us until October. And Kevin made a point, and as did you, Peter, that this has ructions in other countries, because France and Germany, there are calls there to have their own referendum. Just talking about 350 million that Fraser mentioned, they've been backpedaling on that this morning, saying that it might not be there. They said, no, sorry, Fraser, the 350 million was the gross figure. The net figure is far less than that, and they don't have that 350 million pound to spend. I think it'll become clearer in the following days.
See, that was the biggest mistake they made with saying that. If they'd got the figures right, instead of saying a big figure of 3, I'll say this is what we pay in, and what by the time what we pay in and what we get back, this is what we're actually paying, and some of that will be there for perhaps the NHS, and it's all about the wording.
Oh yeah.
Getting facts right, which when they were both very poor at. They got themselves stuck in this 350 million pound, and it's tied them up. And it's tied them up this morning as well, because I was watching a TV report, and it says, so you're going to put that 100 million pound into the NHS, and then that's when the problems occurred, and that will not go away. It will not go away. That's one of the problems going to be.
That's true. I mean, we are to a certain extent in shock, and even the experts are actually trying to work out what's going on. What we do know is that Mr. Carney, who is the governor of the Bank of England, has been saving up for this rainy day. And he has 250 billion in his back pocket, and he will ease any problems that arise out of currency problems or trading problems. I mean, we've had the problem that our currency is now trading lower than it was since 1985. If I'm wrong on any facts, please somebody correct me.
Well, I've already seen on Facebook it was that low in February 2016.
Oh, right, okay, fine. Okay.
It was that low before. And not only that, who wouldn't expect a dip in anything like this happening? Anything that happens like that, there's always a dip. Yeah?
Yeah.
And it'll come back again. But we've made our decision. This is what I think. Let's look at Britain that people can use as an example and say, look at that fantastic country they've built up again, and let's model ourselves on that. You know, they've made their own decisions, and they've made some fantastic deals with the Germans, and they can still get good travel, because the Germans don't want to give us up, because they want to still sell cars, and Mercedes have already said that. We still want deals. We won't be cut off. Well, we're not, because, and I think we'll be a safer country once we get our own border back and we check everybody coming through with a legitimate reason to be in this country.
Yeah.
That's the cup half full approach,
yeah.
Peter. I fully support that. As I was saying, Kevin asked, should we be shocked? Are we surprised? He seems to be surprised that we're shocked. It's a momentous decision, and one that I didn't think we'd take, which is, you vote your way and you take the consequences. But I do like the idea of pulling our socks up and getting out there. Just worry that the leadership that the country is heading towards with Boris is not going to.
Well, no.
It's not going to hang back out there, despite him. Did we not see the last general election results? No, Kevin. Why? What's the context of why what you're asking?
We can't read tea leaves, and we were told by the polls, which we take with a pinch of salt, that it might be very close, but it could well be Remain. And the most amazing thing for me is the bookies. The bookies got it wrong. Now, that's well, obviously it does happen, but the bookies were taking money that we would Remain.
It was 1-6, wasn't it? 1-6 against exit, and I think 6-1 for staying. Yeah, for leaving. That's fine. Yeah, but incredible. Really, it was.
I only go.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Peter.
What's amazed me is the split up of the country as a whole. So you've got Scotland was all yellow, but there was only 62% of people went out. In Northern Ireland, it was all yellow.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about the borders. People are talking about split up of the UK now because of this. Maybe Northern Ireland wants a vote. Scotland wants a vote again. So it's going to be really, really strange times. But hey, we've got to live with it. We've got to move on. And there's a reason we voted, just like the Scottish campaign, just silence, and then somebody voted for a reason, and the majority have voted out. And it was quite a big majority. What was it in the end?
It's just a moment.
Last night or yesterday? About a million. About a million in favour of. I'm going to have to go and get a battery.
There we are, 51.9% out, 48.1% in. So that's 17,400,000 voted out and 16,100,000 voted in. So it wasn't close. It wasn't even close.
What was the total in the country?
Sorry?
What was the percentage of voters in total? Do you ever got that?
That's it. That's on the screen above us, Peter.
All right. So how many is it?
51.9%.
No, but I'm on about the total population. How many voted out of the whole?
The percentage voting. Yeah, 46 million could vote. 33 million did.
Right. So what happened to the other people? Maybe we should think about having compulsory votes like they do in Australia.
There could be a point to that, and with Kevin saying it's quite possible that some of them did get caught up in the floods yesterday because it was difficult for people to get out and vote. But it is an overwhelming decision, as we've all agreed that we have to move on and respect the decision that's been made by the country. Now, I'm just going to make one point about this, and it's my bugbear, and it will go away because we're going to move on. But this came about because of politics. Now, I want to make this clear. I'm going off a report that was in the Telegraph. Essentially, when the Conservative government was in coalition with the Lib Dems, there wasn't a problem. Mr. Farage and his party had 2% of the vote. A couple of years later, that 2% became 14%, and some Conservative members became nervy as to whether they would ever get re-elected. That's why, before the last election, a promise was made to them that they would have the chance to ask the country to vote on remaining in the EU.
Yeah.
And that became part of the manifesto. And then when the Conservatives won, and they didn't think they were going to win, this is one of the problems. They put it in there, fully expecting to be another coalition and be stopped from doing it. So we've then had a situation where we've got a party divided. We've got 300 people split two ways. Now, because of one political decision, we've got a country split two ways, and the end result 24 hours later is we're out of the EU, and we've got to now start a healing process. But the politicians did this, no question about it. The people didn't ask for it, or certainly non-UKIP members didn't ask for it, but it is time to move on. As you said, Peter, it's very interesting, the split on the vote. I was surprised. I mean, Wiltshire voted out, as did Solihull, where John lives, and in Scotland, 62%. Stoke, what happened in Stoke? Do we know?
Almost certainly massively in favour of leave.
Yeah,
I can check, but almost certain.
Yeah, on the page that we're looking at, and I'll just drop the link in the sidebar. If you are curious about how your particular area voted, then you can click on this link, and it's BBC, and they will give you access to how your area voted. Now, normally we'll be voting by constituency, so that'd be 650 places, and you could type in Devizes, or you could type in Birmingham South and get a result. This time round, they rejigged it. There's only 382 voting areas. So, for instance, I can't look up Devizes, but I can look up Wiltshire, or I can look up Swindon. But if you want to know how your area voted, then it's in there. Now, I'm going to close this. If you want to come on air and add to the conversation, then please do so. I'm going to stop recording in a few minutes, just so that those who don't want to be on YouTube be able to record the fact that we've actually done this.
Stoke-on-Trent, 70% leave. So,
yeah, I mean, there's got to be an element of, I mean, there's a midterm election thing going on here, isn't there, as well? Between governments, you always vote against the government, and the government was Cameron. And over the last year, the Conservative government has not kept their promises.
Also, there's been, on my Facebook feed, has been sort of the local Labour guys, and they are really annoyed with Corbyn about his lukewarm endorsement, I suppose, or his lukewarm approach to campaigning on it, where he was talking about, the classic line was, I'm 7.5%, 7.5 out of 10 in favour of staying in the EU. And that's been taken as, what the hell are you playing at? You know, you've got such a momentous decision that you're not giving leadership. I think that was the key thing there. There's a bit of a worry in the future as to who's going to renegotiate with the EU, you know, for access to the single market. It's going to be, I've likened it to unscrambling an omelette. How are you going to do it? And it's going to take hundreds of thousands of civil servant years, which will be no doubt outsourced to the huge legal and commercial enterprises that always get the work. it's going to cost a bloody fortune to
True.
do it. You know.
Yeah. Dan Kronberg's asked the question: any possibility the EU says the UK can't leave? Your thoughts? My thoughts on that is each sovereign state can decide whether it's in or out, and it's a vote. Now, with this vote, when Scotland voted to become independent, if they had voted yes, then the following day the process to start independence would have happened. There was a law passed in Parliament before the vote even took place. This time, there has been no vote in Parliament, and the vote that we did yesterday is only an advisory vote. There's nothing. The Parliament doesn't have to do anything. Okay, that was the idea. If there had been a small majority for out, then Cameron would have argued that he didn't want to split the country and we should stay, and we couldn't have stopped him. Yeah, because Parliament has the last say. But with the vote being so wide yesterday, this disparity is so wide between the votes, he had no choice. He had no choice but to go with the process of leaving. Now, the process of leaving will not start while he's still Prime Minister, so it won't start until October. And once it's started, it will take 2 years. Now, if I'm talking rubbish, somebody correct me, please. But basically, we have to start the process of leaving. We're not being kicked out. The tariff barriers don't come down so tariff barriers don't go up for another 2 years.
I've just seen the comment from Simon.
Yeah.
And it reminds me about the situation that Gibraltar are in. You won't be surprised that 90-odd percent, 94%, 96% of Brits in Gibraltar voted to remain.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be worried. What the hell are they? Yeah. So that's one example of the implications of what was decided yesterday. And he's also said that Spain's got elections this weekend.
Yeah.
I suppose there's an old Chinese curse, isn't there? May you live in interesting times. And this is it. This is the one, because we just don't know what's going to happen. There's nobody's planned for it. Otherwise, because if they had planned for it, they would have told us it. This is the Leave campaign. If they had planned for this eventuality, they would have told us what that plan was. Yeah. And I don't know of anybody saying, well, we're going to do this, and this. I mean, the government did say, Osborne said that you'll have an emergency budget next week.
But that's when...
Who knows?
So, how's a question to you guys?
Yeah, sure.
Steve, you don't have to answer. How will it affect your business today?
I was thinking about that earlier, and I'm in negotiations at the moment with an Indian company via a US company that I want to sell their stuff into the EU. Luckily, I don't know any decisions which will affect it, but I think that when you sell software, it's on the internet. It's there's nothing to move from one place to another place. So for me, I don't think that it'll have a great effect on my very small business.
Okay.
As I said, I'm not shifting. I'm not subject to regulations from the EU with what I do, and that's not really a naive thing to say. But I'm allowed to do what I do in a commercial sense, so I don't see any regulation hitting me. But hopefully, I don't know, Stephen, you're in software. Yeah, I can't see anything helping harming us. Can you?
No, I think some of our customers actually export, so their goods are going to become cheaper abroad for a short while. So they may well benefit. I think that the thing that's going to hit us all, and not for 2 years, is once we have tariffs on trading with the other 27 countries in Europe, then our costs will go up. And it's if the new government, with its new leader, which effectively it will be, do manage to get trade deals with everybody apart from the 28, I will be happy. but it's going to take a while. Great Britain is the 5th largest economy in the world. We've always battered above our weight. We do have clout around the world, which is out of all proportion to our population. If you think that Great Britain has a 60 million population and India and China have many times that, and our influence on the world stage is far greater. We do have the opportunities. I'm not gainsaying that it's a totally bad thing. So we'll just have to wait and see. If anybody wants to come on camera, then please do so. We're happy to see you all here today. Normally the 3 of us are live at 10 o'clock on Thursday, chatting away. If you'd like to help us, okay, if you can press the share the last 30 seconds button and tweet us out, then we'll get a few more people to join us when we go off camera. We can have a general chat. So yeah, I mean, it is.
Quite a few people today. We've got quite a few people coming today.
Yeah, we just need a Brexit a week, and we'd be quids in. We'd have an audience.
So how's it?
Just one quick point that the pound has rebounded a bit.
Yeah.
By about. I think from what I'm looking at this X Rates website, the sort of 10% decline has come back up to, and it's only about a 6% decline now against the dollar. And interestingly, oil prices collapsed again this morning as a result of what happened. So, and that's not. There's 2 variables, isn't there, for industry, for British industry. I'm not sure what it's going to do for fuel prices for Peter, but I'm just trying to find out what the latest.
That's why I'm getting an electric bike.
You make all your guys go on it, Peter.
I've got an electric bike. Well, I used to go until, but I'm looking at another electric bike. And even though I've got a pest control business, I'm quite environmental aware, and by cutting down on emissions, cutting down on stuff I use. See, here's the thing. For me, a couple of years ago, Brussels just said to us, that rodenticide you use, which is rat poison, mouse poison, we're taking it all away from you. And we had to fight. We had to use our MSPs, whatever, MEPs to fight for that. Now, interestingly enough, I'm looking at something called CEPA, competent, which is a European standard. And the question is asked, if we come out of the European Union, what about the standard? It'll still be there, because the British have actually been very influential in making that standard. And in my industry, most countries look at the British standard to what they do anyway. Yeah. So we'll still conform to certain ways. So if France has got a supplier in Britain, we'll all still use the same EN regulations.
Because they're incorporated EU regulated.
Yeah. So we'll still work that same way.
Do you think they'll try and take them to repeal them?
Who?
The government, whatever flavour government we end up with. Do you think that they will try to repeal any of the thousands of regulations that have come into place?
I'll come off just now. I'll come
off.
Mate.
Okay, cheers, Peter.
Hey, John.
Hello, John.
Hey, how are we doing this morning?
Fine. What's your take on things?
Well, it's amazing.
I'm just political debate.
I'm just listening to Peter's call.
Yes,
it's so amazing because, again, like everyone in the conversation, I run my own business as well, and we deal with people internationally, but more on a merchandise professional artist, and we export literally over the United States, Canada, Australia. And it's amazing how many people, again, have had that on their lips. How's this going to affect us? How's this, so on and so on. And as far as I'm concerned, it really won't, because we will find a way. If history has taught us anything, it's, the smallest of creatures, can find a way when they're focused. And the funny thing about it was, my wife and I, we were driving into town today. I had some deliveries to do and some other bits and pieces. And it was like a mass mourning for the entire nation. The only thing that was short was, the curtains being closed and everyone wearing black. And I thought, this is bad. I walk into town and it's empty. I walk into the post office and the ladies there just greet me like, oh, it's all over. It's all over. And I thought, well, good morning to see you as well. It was just amazing, you know, how people's mindsets go straight into a position of flux. And, you know, it was just like, there's no opportunities, there's nothing, it's done, it's finished. But that's really where my mindset went to, was what are the opportunities here? This is the situation we are presented with. What is the opportunity here that we can actually do? And, you know, is it going to be literally as bad as everyone's predicting? And for me personally, like I say, you know, when the dinosaurs went extinct, these little meerkat creatures, they found a way to continue life. The same as rats and the same as ants and everything else when they're focused. And I like to think that human beings are a little bit more resourceful than rats and ants. And Peter's just come back. He's probably thinking, what on earth am I talking about?
I know about rats and ants and things.
Right. If we just pause for a moment. I'd like to thank everybody who's here today. We're not going anywhere, but I'm just about to switch the recording off. What we'll do then is we will swap the seats around so everybody gets a chance to talk. Because we'd like to hear from everybody. Everybody's views, one person's views was important as the next. Thank you for joining us today. As we say, we have voted, or Great Britain has voted, to leave the EU, and we're discussing that today and the implications of it for us all and how we feel about it. And we've decided that we will, as Great Britain is the 5th largest economy in the world, we will move forward again. In shock at the moment, but we can we're good at making the best of things in Britain, and that's what we've always done and will continue to do. So with that said, and with my thanks to Peter, Stephen and John, I'm going to pause the recording now.